temperatures records policy drive deception, which you can find in Homewood. Okay, massive tampering with data in South America. So, I mean, there's published evidence that shows that these adjustments that Mr. Freeman's talking about, it's convenient that the adjustments are always adjusting to show what they want. And there's evidence. I'm just not pulling this out of thin air. Okay, there's real scientists that are saying that this data is being manipulated.
Anyone can publish on Wikipedia. Okay? And I want to make another thing very, very clear. Peer-reviewed science is powerful. Peer-reviewed science is evidence-based. And what you're talking about, dear kind sir, is not peer-reviewed evidence in any way, shape, or form. Okay? The scientific consensus is coming from peer-reviewed science. That's evidence that has been judged dramatically. And this isn't some crazy scientific conspiracy. It's very hard to get any scientist to agree with another scientist. It is our job to argue with each other, to make a name for ourselves by disputing someone else's claim. So it is baffling to me that you would come to the table with something that is not a peer-reviewed journal. Because that is how science works. We publish. We publish in a peer-reviewed format so that we can have other people judge the very data that we claim to use to support our statements. And that is powerful. So, moving off from that, all right, there in the 80s, all right, in 1988, all right, we have this guy, James Hansen, who, this is very early in the climate science modeling systems, which I know Gutt wants to get into, so I'm trying to get some content in before he goes crazy. Puts his evidence out. Evidence. Okay? Now, I want you to understand that Hansen, with the primitive knowledge of climate in the 1980s, put forth a climate simulation that goes hundreds of years into the future, analyzing the human contribution to climate change and all the other variables that are out there in the entire world. And guess what? He was remarkably spot on, and we have over 30 years of data of his systemized modeling on a very primitive, I mean, do you know what computers looked like in the 80s? All right, our understanding of the natural world was more limited. All right, we have only improved on that. We have 30 years to look at what his climate model showed us, and it is, he gave 3 tracks, right? And his trajectory was spot on. Spot on, right? And he even accounted for variations in climate that could be like Mount Pinatubo that would erupt in 1991 and create a little bit of cooling for a very short period of time by putting sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. He accounted for all of this, and he is spot on. Okay, that was in the 80s. Modeling has improved since then, and we can look forward with climate models with greater certainty, just as we can use those climate models to look into our past and use history, Mr. Gutt, to judge whether our climate models can accurately depict the past, of which we can.
Oh, yeah!
Okay, so I guess I'm going to produce some more unreviewable evidence here, which I can't for the life of me. When I researched this, I didn't see anything that denied it. So I mean, this is out. It's not coming from Wikipedia. This is an excerpt from the Surface Temperature Records Policy Drive Deception Report that I mentioned earlier. The Moscow-based Institute of Economic Analysis claims that the Hadley Center for Climate Change had probably tampered with Russian climate data. Of course, you children know that Russia is enormous, covering 12 time zones. Okay, a lot of land area there. Russian meteorological station data doesn't substantiate the anthropogenic global warming theory. Analysts claim that stations over nearly all of Russia, but the Hadley Center, when they use their data, they only use 25% of the Russian reporting stations.